Okay, everybody, let's take a deep breath and close our eyes and we'll pray in. And tonight we are calling on the angelic realm to help us and to help all humans, especially on this very chaotic time of the election of 2024, the presidential election of 2024, when collectively there seems to be tremendous anxiety and for good reason. And yet we're calling on the angels to really lift us above it, especially tonight, to give us a sense of peace, of heavenly solitude, and being above all of the earthly anxiety and turmoil. We know that the angels do this for us, especially when we request it. And so now, on behalf of all of our class, we request that the angels take every opportunity tonight to open our hearts, to quiet our anxiety, to help us trust that in the higher picture, the understanding of the soul's journey on earth, all is well and all will be well. And so it is. All right, everybody. Good to see you all. So I want to start with a little bit of a talking point here because I got some questions about it. Um, I don't think I've talked about numerology much in this class. And, somebody was asking me because we're going into a 9 universal year in January, and right now we're in an 8 universal year. Universal year means what the calendar year digits to for all of us. And the 8 universal year I've talked about before, it's all about the power play that humanity does on Earth. Who's going to own the power? Who's going to use it for good? Who's going to give it away? These are the questions on the table. It's no surprise that our election has had so many discussions around power, often without even using the power. But when you look at any of the debates or the ads or anything, it's about who's going to be powerful. And that's so 8, that 8 universal year of saying, we need to step up to our spiritual power, our financial power, perhaps our physical power, and definitely our emotional power, meaning that we want to act like the most powerful, awakened, alive parts of our higher self walking on earth. Easy to do, right? And meanwhile, the nine universal year starts in January, and the numbers, the way they work, is that it becomes a wave as we move closer to that January shift into the 9, which means that one of the ways to get through a lot of what's happening, even what happens in the next week, is through the energy of the 9 of surrender. And you know that I talk a lot about that affirmation. I surrender my resistance to what is unfolding. And I urge all of you to find that place of peace when you see things that are upsetting or hear things that are upsetting, where you say, I surrender my resistance to whatever is unfolding. Now, when we say that, we're not giving up. That's a very Western cultural understanding of surrender, like from the Western movies. I surrender. Instead, I want you to think of it as surrender is saying there is a higher force of divine God consciousness that runs this universe. And as you all know from this graphic, it shows up as light. It is sparked with love. It is the force of the God loving energy that runs this universe. When we surrender to that higher consciousness and not feel that we have to be down in the details, arguing, fixing, manipulating, all of those things that the human mind does. Now we're lifted back up into the beauty of the energy of the nine, surrender to what is happening for highest good. And I know a lot of people have questions about surrender and divine order, because there is this idea that not everything that happens on earth is good. And I agree. And the way we have to look at it to find the good is something we've done in this class now for 7 weeks, of taking a situation that is painful and lifting up with the help of the angels to see it from the divine point of view, the soul's point of view. Now, it doesn't mean, sometimes it means we have to do something in the physical world as well. Other times, no. We spent a lot of time earlier in this class talking about painful relationships that we've all experienced, and perhaps the right action of lifting up above from the ego battles, the mind battles, which we can never win, by the way. They constantly go back and forth depending on how the wind is blowing. But stepping up into the soul's wisdom, going, I see that you have a beautiful soul who came here on purpose to evolve and to grow and to open your heart and help others. And when I focus on that in you, I love you unconditionally, soul to soul. And that's kind of been our overarching lesson in this class, is finding the ways to step into that point of view, whether it's a relationship bothering us or political turmoil happening. That is our place of grace, and that is our place of surrender. So keeping in mind that November that we're in now is a one universal month, and I'm not going to explain how you come up with that, but if you want to look at my numerology workbook sometime, it'll explain it. But November is a one universal month. December is a two universal month. And then guess what? January comes back in as a one universal month, only because it's a 9 universal year. So you're adding the 9 and the 1. And then February comes in as a 2 universal month. So you see right there, back to back, November, December, January, February, we have the pattern of 1, 2, 1, 2. And then finally in March, we go into the number 3, a universal number 3. Now, what that says to me is that don't get all upset or anxious if there's no clear indication of the winner of this election, or it's being debated or this or that, because the numbers even say that that's probably going to happen for a while, but that in March there will be clarity. There will be a settling in to what is happening and what needs to happen. So I just wanted to throw that in because I've heard from so many of you struggling to deal with this energy that's going on right now. It is so intense. But we are so blessed because we know how to ask the angels to help us. Whether it's tonight or tomorrow night or anytime this week, when you start to feel upset about it all, first go-to thing is, please, beloved angels, lift me above this, comfort me, soothe my heart, quiet my mind, help me see the wisdom of this moment, help me surrender my resistance to what is unfolding. And those things will help. You know, it's funny, my daughter is an acupuncturist, and I've told you all that she kind of thinks my spirituality is too out there, but she's a brilliant acupuncturist and a doctor of Chinese medicine and a master's in spiritual psychology from Columbia. And just today, because she doesn't ever tell me what she's working on, but just today she wrote and published an article. And I think the name of it was something like, we have to hold on to our pain as if we never want to let it go. And as I read the article, I understood that she was talking about the research that shows whatever we resist gets worse. And so if we're in physical pain, you know, an upset stomach or a broken bone or a back, the more we obsess on that pain and resist it, this is terrible that I'm feeling this, research now shows that that pain gets worse and that that symptom gets worse. And so, what that means to all of us is that even emotional pain, if we resist it, if we go, I'm so upset about this, but I'm not going to cry, even though our soul is going, cry it out. And in grief, you all know that too. In grief, when you're grieving a departed loved one, you've got to let it go finally and cry and cry and cry. The minute you do that, that resistance eases up and you embrace that pain. And the magic is the minute you do that, it begins to move on. And that's true for our bodies, for our emotions, for our spiritual angst, everything. So my daughter was writing that article just as I was planning this class for tonight, talking about all these things. I think that's pretty cool. The other thing is, I wanted to talk about that meditation that we did last week. Your homework was to do the Om Namah Shivaya meditation every day, at least 10 minutes, and learn to settle into that place of quiet mind. We can also call it surrender. And I really want to hear from you all about how that went for you and if it worked, if it helped you, or if you didn't do it. Um, who would like to comment about that? You have to
I will.
unmute. Go
I
ahead.
will.
Oh, my Gail.
I just wanted to let you know, I did the Om Namah Shivaya on my mala beads,
Mhm.
and um, but Friday morning before I got out of bed, I always listened to a meditation on Insight Timer, and I
Mhm.
found a really good Om Namah Shivaya meditation on Insight Timer that I listened to before I got up. And then I walked to yoga. And during my yoga class, one of the songs that played was Om Namah Shivaya. And I was just like, ah, it was like, it was so beautiful. So
That's
I just
so
wanted to let you
great.
know. And then I also saw something, I was watching something one night, late at night. When
Mhm.
I can't sleep, I put on like the podcasts.
Right.
And something came up about it also. I can't remember what it was, but it was like divinely, timed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let
Divinely
you know.
showing up to show you that, yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
especially in these times, which I would say everybody can say that these are very stressful times right now. That quick and simple repetition of mantra is such a helpful, calming, back to center thing. And I just want to know if anybody struggled with it or had a question like it didn't work or questions about how to do it exactly. This is your moment to ask me. Diana?
Yeah, so I didn't really do it as much as I should have done it because I got all into this world that's going on.
Yeah.
But but it was so funny because I did it in the car today as I went to go vote. So as I was driving, I did it. But I was earlier in the week, I said, I have to record myself doing this for 10 minutes so then I could play it and that'll assist me in doing it. And just then is when your email came through saying you were looking for someone. And I was just like laughing because I don't have the skill set to edit for you, but I was definitely seeing how that would be helpful and stuff.
Yeah,
So I was just like cracking up. I'm like, oh
that's
gosh, this
great.
girl, love you.
Well, I think it's Amber. Is Amber here? Amber took the first minutes of last week's class and separated the Om Namah Shivaya meditation, and I've put it now on my playlist on
Great.
if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see it. I posted it on social media last week. And just anything you can do to repeat those beautiful heart opening words, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. In fact, I've decided that on election night tomorrow night,
Yes,
I
yes, that's a
am
good
going
idea.
to be doing some mantra and I'm not going to watch the results come in. I've done that before, and right now it's bringing me too much anxiety to watch that. So I'm going to be doing mantra and I'm going to try to go to bed early. And if I can't, I'm going to watch a comedy movie. So if anyone wants to join me in spirit, don't worry. When you wake up in the morning, there will be some kind of winner or conflict or whatever it's going to be.
Right.
And we don't have to be watching it moment by moment. I mean,
Mhm.
I've been there, done that, and it certainly doesn't make you happy. So, Om Namah Shivaya is what's on the table.
Mhm.
Um, oh, and then how many of you were able this week? Thank you, Margaret. How many of you were able this week to really access the angel? Oh, Stephanie's hand is up. I'm sorry. How come I'm not seeing that clearly? Stephanie, hey, sweetie, go ahead.
Hi. I I actually did it every day. And um I those big wooden beads that you see that's really trendy with the farmhouse. I
Yeah.
got a set for a gift and I truly don't like them, but I used those beads, those
Yeah.
big wooden beads and did it. Um I found myself doing it in times when I my thoughts were getting ahead. I love that it's ancient and it connects you. You said something about that, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I love that. And I, this is kind of a general question. Um, when I was doing the beads, I, I don't know if everything was right. Nobody in the house. I, this is kind of a general question because this has happened before, but it happened intensely this time where I have involuntary movements.
Ooh.
And I was wondering if anybody, um,
So,
they're not like gross limb ones. They're
yeah,
lips and face and fingers and toes. And
yeah.
I was just wondering if anybody else had
That's very
experienced it.
interesting because, the Sanskrit words are connected back through the Buddhist and the Hindu lineages, where they both in their own way talk about, well, I talk about it in my English way of the God source coming in through your crown chakra and circulating through the body and then out through the heart chakra. And whenever I meditate, especially when I'm using that mantra, I start feeling the rhythm of that flow, and my body will even kind of have this little calming, rocking motion, just as that energy moves through you. And those sacred words just keep bringing you that calming rhythm. And so, if it's that kind of peaceful movement, I would say that's beautiful. That means you're really letting that energy pour through you.
Yeah, it always is. And this time was really intense.
Oh, good.
Um, so that's all I want to say, and thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. That's
Uh,
really good. Um, and I also know that I got a really good question by email. So, um, is it okay if we talk about that question about Susan, do you want to talk about that question you emailed me? We won't need to use names or anything because I think it'll be helpful.
Sure, sure. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
So, Susan just went through a very painful breakup. And how many of us have been through painful breakups here? Everybody. So, one of the things that happens in a painful breakup is the egos take it to the battle. Even if we think, and when we first discuss it with our partner, let's be peaceful, let's do this in a loving way. Everybody always has that conversation, right? And then the mind starts working on it, the ego starts working on it. And pretty soon it's the battle of the egos. Wait, I need to tell you my side of this. And oh no, I got to tell you my side of this. And I'm right and you're wrong. I think we all know by now, especially in this class, that those ego battles will go on through eternity, and no one ever has the last word or ends it from a sense of peace by just pushing their ideas on the other person or their blame or their attack. So, as we do in this angelic course, we have to lift above it. And the smarter your partner is that you've broken up with, the more they're going to know how to push your buttons and the things to say to you that you're doing wrong, that they know are your vulnerabilities, and really hurt you. So you have to go to the angels with that. You can't just be, wait, I've got to get my point of view across. I've got to do my arguing. It's almost like I wish you all were my age in your 70s, where you had already spent decades trying to do that and finally realized, oh my God, that always just makes it worse. And you're willing to just let it go and go, I'm going to work on this from the soul's view. So I'm going to see my partner every day as their best and most loving self, the way we were with each other when we first fell in love. I'm going to see that. Send that unconditional love to them, receive it from them, see them smiling, and release. And I'm going to do my best not to respond, whether it's an email or a verbal exchange, because I can promise you all that is not going to heal it. It is only going to make it worse. And our goal here is to be able to say, I made a choice, whether it was my choice to end that relationship or my partner's choice, and I knew and I know that that's for highest good. So I will not now let my human mind come in and second guess it and beat myself up about it, beat them up about it, because that's what the human mind loves to do. And Susan, I read, the email that he wrote you. He's quite smart, quite brilliant, quite went right after your little sensitivities and your vulnerabilities and did it with this kind of gracious tone. That is what we call a formidable opponent. So I really hope that you can just maybe write a one sentence email and say, I love you. I'm sorry we couldn't make this work. Someday I do know that we'll be able to have a healing conversation about it, but not now. So I release you. I let you go with love until we meet again, and just let it drift off that way. This person has a very strong soul agreement with you. So they're not just going to go away. Of course, they're going to be in your soul posse. And whether you interact with them in this lifetime or when you cross, that's when you can have a healing moment. And it does happen. So does that help, Susan?
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Were
I
you-
appreciate your
were you-
word.
Were you
of-
able to not go back and answer that email?
I have not sent any message back. I've just been waiting for clarity on what to do, but it's been a mental battle.
Right.
Wake up in 3 a.m. with this pain in my heart, and first pain about it and then anger about it, and how unfair that was, and
Right.
all of that. And then, but I also know I don't want to spend any more energy writing a response back. But it was like, but it's so unfair. And so these two things are battling and
So remember, the unfair, everything on human life is unfair according to the human viewpoint. There is no justice on earth. Give that up. It doesn't happen here because everything is playing out from the soul's perspective. The bad player, the good player, whatsoever. It's all about helping us evolve and grow. And we're in a grand and beautiful Shakespeare play. And so you don't need to get on that stage and say, I was right, because when the play is over and you're hanging out but backstage and the costumes are off, you just can laugh and love and remember the core of each other. That's what we're trying to do here on earth. And the angels can really help us. So when you wake up at 3 in the morning and you're tossing and turning, you do two things. You say, angels, help me, lift me up, pull me above this. And then you either do the Om Namah Shivaya meditation or you put on a healing frequency from your healing apps on your phone. I listen to, I've named it a million times. It's called Frequency, and they have, last night I listened to Deep REM sleep app, or you can do healing, heart healing frequencies, whatever's going to help bring you that sense of, I don't need to mull this over. I need to release it. I need to surrender it and trust that it's being resolved for highest good. And when we're able to have a real conversation about it, this realm or the next, we will, and it will be healing.
Okay.
Thank you, sweetie. Susan, were you able to do the Om Namah Shivaya meditation?
I did do it. I would say I did it. I didn't get to watch because I wasn't in the last class until midweek. So I've been doing it since then. And I really like it because I have a Vedic mantra that I was given that I used to do, but there's something about the power of the 3 words. My Vedic mantra is 2, and I can actually hold my attention longer with 3.
I think that's one of the reasons that that particular mantra is so powerful. And I'll even share that when I use my mala for a 3-word mantra like this, I'll do each word on a different bead. So for me, it's like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, so that the beads are moving, keeping me in that rhythm. And when I notice the beads aren't moving, then I know that I'm not meditating, that I'm thinking. So use that. I've sat up before in the middle of the night and propped myself up and pulled out my mala and done mantra. I even have on my music. Oh, I should have told you guys about this. Let me find it. I have an Om Namah Shivaya artist here. What is his name here? All right, I gotta find him. Let me look a different way. Om Namah Shivaya Shri something.
What does it mean again?
I connect to God, or I connect to the divine.
Okay.
There's this beautiful album that came out around 2009 or 10 that it's all about using the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, where this wonderful meditation teacher sings the chant and adds in drums and all kinds of beautiful stuff. And I used to walk around just listening to that all the time. And if I type in Om Namah Shivaya, it should come up.
I have one on my Spotify that's Diva Premal. Is that who it could be?
No, it's
DEVA.
somebody else, but if that one's good, you should share that one. Um, let's see. Let me see if this is it. Is it Krishna Das? Hold on, you guys, because you'll love this if you can get it.
Is it the Krishna Das one?
I think it is. I'm
I-
just trying to
I can
pull it up.
share it. I just found it.
I think this is it. No, I don't know. All right, you guys, I'll just send it to you afterwards because that didn't sound quite right. I'm not sure it's Krishna Das. Anyway, I'll send it to you after class. I'll send you a link to it. The reason I like it is that you can just put it on in the background and, go about cooking your dinner or whatever it is you're doing. And it's beautiful, uplifting music, and it doesn't feel like you're doing any kind of weird chanting or anything. And I used to go for walks, listening to it. And it would put a pep in my step. It would be in my headphones. I'm sorry. I can't find it, you guys. I gotta remember that name. Om Namah Shivaya. What was his name? All right, I'll find it and I'll send it to you. But anything you can do like that, even in the middle of the night. I remember back when I was lonely and working at a high pressure editorial job back in the 80s. and grieving as well, that I had that on tape back in the day of cassette tape, right? And I'd wake up in the night if I couldn't sleep and I'd put it on, just a repeated Om Namah Shivaya chant. And it would just kind of soothe me back to sleep. And I'm sharing all of these now because I literally don't know anyone who's not feeling some form of anxiety about the world right now. So we know the angels are trying to help us and that they sing to us as well. We can hear their voices. We have to call them in the middle of the night and say, please lift me up, hold me in the light, bring me to a higher understanding of this. And then we also need to use the Om Namah Shivaya to quiet the negative thinking of the human mind. And then most of all, to remember that as part of the angelic ministry, and this is my question for all of you tonight, how are you using your ministry in these times to help and soothe others? And I really want you to reflect on that. That was part of your homework, your mission statement for your ministry. How are you using your angelic ministry already at these times? Whether it's you going to vote at the polls, or you having suddenly an uncomfortable conversation with someone that was unexpected. So, let's try to talk about that for a moment. How many of you have had an opportunity to be an angelic minister this week? Whether you did it silently through prayer and lifting up, calling in the angels, or you actually took action with it in a situation. Anyone want to talk about that? All right, then I'm going to put you in some breakout rooms. I
Wait,
know.
Susan's got her hand up.
Oh, okay, Susan. Yes, yes.
For some reason, from my Mac, I can't raise my hand, so I
Yeah,
have to
Me
raise.
too.
But so I'm here with at my brother's house with my mom, who is turning 90. She's actually sitting right here. And I know that this election has been weighing quite heavily on her. And she was even crying a little bit about it at lunch today. And I just have found this course so helpful to go back to whatever is arising, it is for our highest good. And there must be something more to learn or to heal from, even if we don't like the outcome.
Or no, even if we can't see the real play that's happening because we're lost in the illusion of the earth details, that's what it is. Because Susan, energetically, the world can't step up to its next level of frequency unless it goes through a purification process, or we can call it a rebirth process. And rebirth or purification is never easy. I mean, us women know that birth is hard, and purification, even in our own bodies. I had a fever all week, burning up the toxicities, and I've got friends who've had different illnesses. Our bodies, our souls, our minds, and our hearts are being asked to shift up to this higher frequency. And it may be very ugly here on earth for a little while. There may be conflict, there may be civil unrest, but we have to get to a place where we know that's not the end of the world, that it's something that we may have to follow the light and move through with grace, with love, with faith that we're being guided in a higher way and not with fear. And then as we get to the other side of that, which will happen in the 9 universal year of 2025, it will. That's the ending. That's the wrapping up of all of this stuff that started energetically in 2016, because that was a 1 universal year. You can't make this stuff up. 2016, 1 universal year, and now we're coming to the 9-year ending of this cycle. And wow, right? So it may not be pretty at first, but it's getting to a place of clearing and awakening and shifting us all up to a higher frequency for the next evolution of humans on Earth, being more aware, more compassionate, more loving, more clear that we are souls on a journey, not physical beings in a purely physical world.
Mhm.
So that's where we are, and it's hard.
Thank you.
And tell your mom that my heart is with her. I was telling Jean the same thing for me today, that um, it feels really hard to me also because things that I kind of worked for in the 60s and even the 70s, believing that we were making a difference, now seem to have all disappeared and gone backwards. And when you're old enough to see a surge of growth and then kind of a dip in the growth, you start going, oh my God, do we ever make progress? But what I do know from watching it and learning it is, that pendulum is always going to swing with human consciousness, human behavior on Earth. So we hit a big wake up piece of our evolution, and then the pendulum takes it in the other direction. But each time the swing is getting smaller and smaller so that we finally come to center.
Mhm.
And that's the purpose of all of this. And all of you that are here on Earth right now, you agreed to be here for this. So we're being called to be our angelic selves through all of this. So that's why I want you all to talk about how it's affecting you. And if you feel, I think you've all been invited, right? Yes, you've been invited. Jump in your room and talk about how it's affecting you, how it's what you're doing with your angelic ministry to move through it, or what you're struggling with. And I will jump into some rooms with all of you. Okay, everybody. I think consensus is that everybody's feeling a little off this week and, trying to deal with this intense energy. But, I really want us to remember that the reason we're in this class is because we don't have to do it all ourselves, that we can call on the angelic realm to help us. And that it's so, once we do that, we always have a response. One of our homework things also last week was talking or practicing, if you felt like it at home alone, doing a little bit of angelic channeling, where you quiet your mind, open your heart, lift your frequency, perhaps feel some love and gratitude, and then ask a question of the angelic realm, and then just let it filter through you and give you an answer in your own voice, in your own words. Were any of you able to do that? No. Well, all right. I think it's been a little bit of a hard week for everybody. But do you have questions for me about that?
I'm sending you guys Sue's numerology workbook in the chat, but I wanted to share something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've shared with everybody else. Maybe most of you guys know I'm an end of life doula, and in the last couple of weeks, I've been put in positions where people are asking, someone I know is dying, what can I do? And the words that are coming out of me almost feel foreign, some of the verbiage. These things that I'm saying to help not only help their heart, but also help them understand that that pure energy is always going to be with them. It's love. It's always going to be with them, and not to be afraid of that transition. But every conversation I'm having, it just feels like it's not even me speaking.
I love that. That can either mean it's your higher self really taking over and speaking through you without letting the human self filter it, or it means you're channeling in these angelic beings as well. What does it feel like to you when you're in the middle of it?
It feels, I'm typing, but it feels so smooth and almost velvety and beautiful. And then afterwards, I'm looking at it like, oh man, I'm a badass. Because some of the things I'm saying and words I'm using, and I'm like, wow. And it took it was 2 or 3 times before I realized I don't think that's me. So
Good, good. Well, no,
yes.
let's also say it's not your ego human self that you're used to. It's definitely your higher self, or it's definitely the angelic realm, or both. And the more we exercise the muscle of letting our higher self speak through us, the easier it becomes to do that, whether it's our higher self or the angels, the easier it becomes to do that when we're in a difficult situation, a crisis situation, for example. So we can even think of writing your angelic ministry, as we talked about that homework, and I can go to that page in just a moment, where we say, my greatest gift to the world, here's what I'm going to share. It can be as simple as saying that when I open my mouth to speak words to help others, those words will come from the highest frequency and not from my human self. That's a beautiful affirmation, a beautiful approach to bring to your angelic ministry. So let me bring you to that page again, just so we can, because next week, you guys, we are, everyone is going to share, their personal mission statement. And I don't say that because I want you to get nervous about it. It's okay if you don't have it done in time for class. When you come to class, we're going to do it. But I want you to be able to say something like, I am a powerful being who has access and connection with the angelic realm, especially when I ask for it. My greatest gift to the world is to be able to shift into unconditional love and wisdom when I'm trying to help someone in pain. I will walk into every room with an angel on my shoulder. These affirmative statements, they carry so much energy, they carry so much weight, and they really can help us, especially now. In fact, all of you take a moment right now to look at that page and say, this week, I will carry, and I'll just share what's coming through for me. You write your own. I will share the loving and higher good perspective of the political situation with whomever I end up interacting with. In other words, if someone's going, oh, this is terrible, I'll go, I'll say something like, it's terrible, but let's see if we can find a way to see it through the angelic realm and see if there are other pieces of it that we're not understanding. In other words, we can make a decision now that we're not just going to dwell in the negative talk that could be happening in the world, no matter what political party anybody is in the next week or two. We're not going to add to that. We're going to bring our own perspective of, well, perhaps if we wait this out a little bit and hold love in our hearts, it will get resolved for highest good. Any little statement like that to help people. One of the worst traits we do with human beings on earth is somebody says something negative and we just jump in on it, like, oh my God, I know that's so terrible. And I've done this too, of course, and yet all we're kind of doing is making things uglier, just bringing more gossipy, ugly negativity to the world. And right now, the world does not need our negativity. It does not need our gossip. It does not need our things are terrible. It needs for us to be holding the light of higher possibility. So, I mean, that right there is really your homework this week, because nothing could be more important than that. So when you find yourself in a situation of complaining or gossiping, what are you going to do? You're going to bring your light, your higher consciousness to that conversation. And, we can all find a way to do that. I mean, there's going to be anger no matter what happens this week. And we'll probably know people on both sides of the political spectrum angry for different reasons. We have to hold a higher light than that. That's why we're in this ministry. You're all capable of it. And this is your time. I mean, there's never been a greater time to bring your angelic self to the world than right now and this week and next week. So I'm calling on all of you, and I really want you to remember that wherever you are, whatever happens, anybody you end up in a conversation with, if a family text stream, a text stream from family of origin members goes in the dark path like my family could easily do, I'm going to remember this, I promise, and I'm going to say, something loving or kind or hopeful. And if we all do that, we are helping tip the world into the light rather than adding to the darkness. That's really what we're here to do. There's really no other point in being on earth at this time than for us to be bringing our light to it. Any questions, insights on that? Stories to share? The other thing that we've kind of forgotten about or haven't talked about is each of you was supposed to have a person in your life that you wanted to heal. And that every week you were to meditate on seeing them as their soul and just trying to heal the energy between you. And I know I've had somebody that I've been doing that with. And I know for me, I really have noticed, how would I describe it? A softer energy between us because we still have to interact with certain work circles that we're in, but there's a softer energy between us. And that is a really good sign if you're noticing that, because it means that your soul work, your energy work with that person is shifting the frequency of that relationship up to a higher level. That's the only way anything ever heals or gets better. And like we talked weeks ago, doesn't mean you have to go out to lunch with them and be their best friend, but it does mean that now you're clearing your heart. You don't carry around that anger, that hatred, that blame, or that hurt. You're letting it go so that you can shift up to your highest frequency. It's actually an act of selfishness to forgive people that way, soul to soul, because now you feel so much better. Your frequency is able to lift up higher. So we can think of ourselves as being selfish angels. We are walking around with love and forgiveness and seeing from the soul's view because it really helps us. It lifts our frequency. It brings us back to the juicy, good stuff that lives in the higher realms. Okay. I'm going to do a meditation now, unless any of you have more of that to talk about. Or actually, please tell me that you guys have been doing that homework with that one person. Do you have any results to share? Oh, you guys, you're so lucky that I'm such a pushover teacher.
I do, actually.
Diana is
Okay.
raising her physical hand, and so is Stephanie.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I guess I'm unmuted, so I'll go ahead. I don't see this person, but I feel so much differently about it. Less hurt and
describe the way you're working on it with your meditation. Tell us your process.
Well, actually, I've been doing the Om Namah Shivaya last week, but I remember when you took us on that meditation, meeting that person, and I go there often. And I just go there and I remember this is a beautiful person. that's got all the earth
Yeah.
grime and stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't we live across the country, we don't speak. But maybe someday we will.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And the other thing is definitely this person is part of your soul posse, or they wouldn't have affected you so deeply. So even if you don't see them again until you cross over, that's going to be a loving reunion of souls going, wow, we really pushed each other to grow, didn't we? You know, and there'll be a whole lot of gratitude there. So I'm just happy you're not going to have to carry that pain with you, you know, until you do see them on the other side, because that pain that we carry lowers our frequency. And we just need to lift ourselves up as much as we can, as often as we can, as easily as we can. And in case any of you don't remember that meditation, you see the other person, the person who's hurt you, and you see them as their highest and best self, the most loving you've ever seen them, the happiest you've ever seen them. You send them so much unconditional love, not loving their personality or their physicality, but just loving their soul for trying so hard, for working so hard to survive an earth life. You're just loving on their soul, seeing them looking back at you, nodding with sweetness, and release. And you'll just feel this whole shift. And if you do that every day, just for a few minutes, you can really soften that so that the next time you run into them in person, you might actually feel completely open-hearted by then, like, oh, give me a hug, you know? That's what we got to do. Because I'll tell you, the older you get on Earth, I was thinking about this a lot lately because I think I've told you guys that when we're in our 70s, we do a lot of soul review reflection because 7 is the number of self-review and analyzing everything. And so I've really been analyzing, like, you know, how many people in my life, I'm sorry, have I felt estranged from at various times for reasons that I thought were very valid, right? Well, as I kind of did that little review, I was like, wow, that's just too many, Sue, you know? And so I even started in my just this was at 3 in the morning last night, unable to sleep because of the world situation. I just started seeing all those people and thinking, well, I'm just going to remember that time that we laughed so hard about something that we burned in the oven that we were both crying and peeing in our pants. Okay, I'll just remember that. And I just kept going to each person that I knew I was estranged from on some level and sending that. But then I also had to do it for myself because I had to remember that this is what happens to all humans on earth. It's not just me. I have not screwed up all these relationships. This is the way human relationships bump egos. And this is what happens on earth. You're really, really close. You see all the good things about them. You have the ego bump war, and then it's all about they're wrong and I'm right. But we've got to start finding our way back to seeing their beauty, seeing their soul, and cleaning it up before we're at the end of the life. Because I believe we want to be able to cross over in that highest frequency of going, okay, I messed up a lot, but whenever I realized it, I did better. I tried to send love. I tried to see it from the soul's view. And that's really the best we can do here. So you guys are much younger than me. Use this time now to energetically be cleaning up those relationships, so that you know you don't have to be their best friend, but you're just working on it in that energetic way so that as you get older, you don't feel like, gosh, I'm estranged from so many people who are important to me. That is one of the things that happens in old age. I've noticed, I watched my mother go through it, you know, people that I know who are older than me. And it is part of the loneliness of aging as we start isolating ourselves. the antidote to that is we're loving on those people soul to soul and clearing it up so that when we think of them, we just think of them with love. And if we have an opportunity to see them again in the physical world, it'll be joyful, it'll be filled with love and complete forgiveness over whatever that grudge was we were holding. And even now with politics right now, probably we have bought, many of us have probably bought into the grudge and the hatred towards different political players because that is the way the world is working. But let's just cleanse ourselves of that heaviness right now. Excuse me, I still have a cough. I have to clear this up so I can do a meditation with you. Hold on.
I want to ask real quick because
Okay.
Deb and Tracy came in a little late, and I wonder if they got the time wrong. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we have more people here now.
Yeah,
Yes, I
because
did. I
we're
did
at the bottom,
yeah.
we're at the half mark of the hour, and it would have
Right,
been-
right.
Yeah,
So
I read the email last minute. I'm so sorry. It's been a very
no,
busy
don't worry,
weekend.
sweetie. It's
So
okay.
here
I'll
we are.
send you the recording, and
Thank
next
you.
week you can be here on time.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry too.
It's
I did
okay.
get your numerology book.
Woohoo!
I was
Woohoo!
really enjoying it.
Oh, that's really good. Well, you'll like the recording from tonight because I started out talking about the universal number of the 8 that our world is in and how it's changing to the universal number of the 9 in January. So you'll like reading about that in the workbook. But I think what I want to do for us, and I really hope my cough doesn't ruin it for everybody, I want to take you on a quick little meditation where we really cleanse ourselves of the political heaviness, the really disturbing energy that's going around. To those of you who are a little bit late, we broke into breakout rooms and practically, well, I think everybody is feeling the turmoil of the energy of this time period, the night before the presidential election of 2024, and also fear about what could happen. And we just need to cleanse ourselves of that now. And as I said a few minutes ago, our job in all this is not to add to the fear, the darkness, the blame, the upsetness. It's to stand in the light with the angels and say, there will be a way through this. I'm going to have faith in that. I may not understand what's playing out in front of me at the moment, and it may upset me, but I'm going to trust there's a way through it with the light and with the heart of love. And that will be my way through. So right now, I'm going to take you all in a little meditation where we reclaim that peace. And maybe I'll even start it with a few minutes of Om Namah Shivaya, because we did spend a lot of time tonight talking about how powerful that is. And if any of you have malas, you could use them as we do this. All right, so let me do this. And I'm gonna try to put on a little bit of soothing music to calm our disturbed minds. The mind of the human is a very disturbed thing sometimes, especially now in the world. All right. So everybody, let's just take a deep breath. And first, we're just going to repeat the beautiful mantra of Om Namah Shivaya as we begin to reclaim our center, the state inside of us that is always purely connected to the God source, never pulled outside of ourselves into the chaos. We're going to use the powerful words of Om Namah Shivaya to reclaim that center. So as you repeat slowly with me, you can do it quietly inside of yourself. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And now you bring it a little bit quicker, deeper inside of you, into your heart. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. We feel ourselves floating, weightless, lifting up above the heavy earth realm, using these words, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, to lift us higher and higher, connecting to the angelic realm. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Om Namah Shivaya. As we lift up now, we are held higher, higher than you've ever been in the space world, to look down at planet Earth from a far distance, seeing it as part of a larger galaxy of light and consciousness. Floating in the soup of divine love that holds all of these planets, all of these points of light in their place, creating the divine order of the evolution of consciousness. And as we keep pulling back, looking at all of it interplay with each other, the humans on Earth seem so small and silly, so attached to their little ideas, and we just love on them. We just send them so much unconditional love because they're all trying so hard to get it right from their perspective. They're all struggling so much to be on the right side of whatever is happening. And so we can love on them for that, knowing that even the most lost soul is still trying to learn, still trying to move forward, still getting up in the morning, giving it another day. And so we love on the collective humanity for its strength, for its collective heart of higher consciousness, and for its struggle to release the ego point of view. And we feel that lightness lifting us further up the divine realms now. We still hear that Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. We find ourselves moving through time and space so effortlessly and joyfully. And now we do feel that we've ascended to the angelic realm. We feel the angels embracing us, healing us, doing their energy work with us, peeling off the layers of pain that we're carrying from the earth life. They're just dusting it off of us. They're saying, you don't need that. You don't need that there on earth. And they're coming around to our heart chakra, putting their hands on the heart chakra with pure love to where you feel your heart opening, 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 so wide and vast now. Pouring out of you is the force of unconditional love that runs this universe. It has been unclogged for you by the angels. And the force of it arches your back. Ah, your head goes back, your mouth is open in awe. Ah, I am in that flow of pure love again. The joy of remembering the God source and that I am part of it. Always have been. And now the angels say, and you are still needed on earth, especially now. You can do it. You could go back and not bring your viewpoint down to the smallest detail, but rather keep your heart wide open this way and make an impact everywhere you go. And you tell the angels, yes, I accept the assignment. And now you feel them wrapping you in protection, wrapping you in healing, and allowing you with a gentle shove to move and float back down through the time and space, through the galaxies of light and dark, all the planets, all the specks of light, the interplay of consciousness. And you feel joyful. You feel on task now. All of those worries about what would happen, they've peeled off of you. And you're now remembering, my only job is to feel that unconditional love flowing through me from God out to the world. Ah. What bliss it is to experience this again. So now you find yourself closer to the earth, again looking at it as such a beautiful planet of light and dark. So much love, richness, consciousness interplaying on the earth. You feel happy to be coming home to it. And you find yourself dropping through the different layers of reality, of realms, back into your house, your home, wherever you are, back into your body, back into your chair or your bed or your couch, back into the personality that carries your name, back into the body that you agreed to have in this life. But now you feel this endless, beautiful song of Om Namah Shivaya inside of you, joyfully repeating with love. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. And with your heart chakra wide open, you feel relieved of all worry. You feel calm, at peace. Ah, and now you sit in the stillness of the Om, the never-ending Om of the universe, letting it run through you, cleanse you, and allow you to be on earth at this time without absorbing the toxicity of it. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Feel that peace tingling through every part of your body now. Your fingertips, your hands, your arms, your chest, abdomen, legs, all tingling with that higher frequency. That higher frequency of divine love. You are completely at peace now, unafraid, and yet also in touch with your wisdom, knowing that you came here now on purpose to carry the light of unconditional love at these times on earth. Take a breath back into your body. And as we awaken, we open the eyes. And we know now that we will walk back into our daily lives, into the election chaos, but we will carry this high frequency tingling with us, lifting us above the chaos of it, the pain of it. And we know that now we'll be able to help others because our light is fully restored. Our love is fully restored. And it is only from that perspective that we truly can help. And so it is. I also want to tell you all that the name of that artist came to me in the midst of that meditation. It's Bhagavan Das. I'm going to type his name in here. Bhagavan Das. Om Namah Shivaya. Shivaya. Bhagavan Das. So if you're having trouble this week, you can find that music and bring that music. In fact, I'm going to see if I can pull it up and play it as we close out. Bhagavan Das. The name of the album that I love is called Now, N-O-W. And it is beautiful Sanskrit chants that are just absolutely beautiful. Can you hear any of that? Anyway, enjoy that music this week if you can find it. Now by Bhagavan Das. Beautiful voice and chanting. And many, many blessings to all of you. It's been a blessing to be in this class, and hopefully next week for our final class, you'll all have a little sentence or two written out about your personal angelic ministry that you can share, and we will feel calmer. We will know what's happening in the world with the election, and we will know that we're bringing our light to it. Thank you all so much. I think some of you just found it because I heard somebody playing it. Who was that? Was that anyway?
Oh, that might have been me, but I don't think that was something else called Closing Prayers, but it's the
Okay.
same artist. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I love you all. Use these tools to help you this week, and we will carry our lights and we'll get through it. Many, many blessings. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.